Good morning. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterbacks Payoff Pick with Sean O'Toole and Stephen Troche. Stephen, how the hell are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Another Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Great day of baseball.
And Sean, how the hell are you?
I am doing fantastic as well. Lots of Braves games this weekend. Tigers had a nice win last night. I am moving this weekend, so it's not going to be as fun for me as it will be for Stephen, but still going to be a good time.
I'm planning on Stephen. We expect to see you tomorrow, correct?
Yep, I'll be there.
Yeah, it's gonna be full debauchery. I'm getting hammered. Been looking forward to this coming Sunday for a while. We're gonna have some good eats. Guys, I guess let's go ahead and dive into, for people who are just joining us, this is a fantasy baseball show. We dive into the analytics as well. If you don't play fantasy baseball, you might enjoy the analytics across the board, but realistically, you are home if you're looking for fantasy baseball analytics to improve your team each week. We're here every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. Guys, take it away.
Well, actually, McGee, I'm going to start you off with a little fill in the blank here. So, these are the top 5 players right now in average exit velocity. I'm going to start with number 5, fill in the blank. Adolis Garcia, Acuna, Vlad Guerrero, blank, Aaron Judge.
Is the answer effing Aaron Judge?
No.
Are you talking about in order? Is that what you're saying?
Yep. So number 2 is missing there.
Okay. So Judge was number 1. Is that what you're trying to say?
Judge 1, Vlad 3, Acuna 4, Adolis 5.
Man, there's no telling, because exit velocity is to me is one of those stats that's overrated, because you can have exit velocity, but if you're constantly hitting into the teeth of a defense. But I'm going to take a wild guess, and there's not like some disclaimer where it's got to be minimum at bats, right? It's
no.
Okay. Mercedes of the White Sox.
That's a good guess.
No, that is a very good guess. He does not break the top 11. So this is actually going to be the start of the Piss McGee off segment. Evan Longoria.
He sucks. If you guys
is number 2. Yeah. You say that, but he is second in the exit velocity leaderboard, 95.9. He is first in the majors in hard hit percentage. That's 60%. He is third in the majors in swing percentage at 22.9. He has there's also a metric called the sweet spot percentage. So basically when you're hitting the ball in the sweet spot of the bat. Out of those top 5, and Longoria has the second highest next to Judge.
And he is just 62 with 7 home runs. So yeah, I state my case. And the defense rests.
No, I think that is all about a volume thing. I'm not saying go out there. Now,
if this is 2009, I'm buying Evan Longoria. 2021, there's a lot better options at third base, in my honest opinion. If you have Longoria as your third baseman in your fantasy league, you're probably struggling at third base.
Well, my only point with Longoria is he is out there. He has rate, his walk rate is the highest it's been since 2011. He's getting on base. If you're in roto leagues and you need some on point, mostly on base percentage, he's a great guy to go. He's at 352 on the year right now.
I'm just giving you a hard time, Steven. He's having an okay year. I'm just essentially just giving you a hard time.
I know.
But I would be concerned if he was my starting third baseman, just putting that out there. But then again, that's also one of the positions that I usually go after early, because it's such a difficult position to keep. I like to have my Jose Ramirez is there. I want a guy who's slugging a little higher than what Longoria is. What is he? He's got to be like 35 right now, right? What is he?
He is 35.
Yep. Oh, damn! Hit it on the nail. And I think the Giants are only in like 12 more years of his contract or something like that. I forget how that works. By the way, did y'all see? I know this has nothing to do with fantasy analytics. Did y'all see this game-saving catch by Talkman last night, robbing Pujols of his home run?
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
loved it.
I know that has nothing to do with your analytics. So, anyways, go ahead. I'm the old get off my lawn guy on this show when it comes to analytics.
Last bit I'm going to say on Longoria, definitely his usage is going to be more in the roto leagues. If anything, he's going to be a streamer in points leagues. But his WOBA right now is 352. His expected
Do you
WOBA
own
is
him?
395. So there's definitely room to grow. Definitely
Do you
room
own
to grow
him?
there.
Do you own him in any of your leagues?
I do not, but I was actually looking at trading for him in one of my deeper dynasty leagues.
What the hell? You don't even own him? Because I noticed he's available in every single one of our leagues that we do together. That's why I was asking.
Well, we have 8-team leagues. I mean, it's a lot of people. Like if you're in a 12 or 14 team league, he's gonna be a lot more viable there.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna keep the Giants flow going and directly force an apology out of McGee and give you the following numbers for this San Francisco Giants player: 11 home runs and 163 plate appearances, 331 on base, 521 slugging, 852 OPS. He's barreling 15.2% of all balls he hits, which is by far one of the highest totals in the majors. That's a 92% barrel rate. And his X slugging is 87. And the very first week of this show, before Trosh joined us, I mentioned this gentleman and was I would say ridiculed is a fair statement. So come on down, Brandon Crawford. Come on, McGee, give me that apology. 11 home runs and 144 at bats.
Okay, but Brandon Crawford is going to hit his baseball card. And Brandon Crawford, there's a reason why Brandon Crawford's never been a major star, because his glove is phenomenal. The guy can't hit, and I pull for him. I pull for the Giants. You know that, Sean.
I do know that.
But because of that, I've watched too many of his games. I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing?
I'm just saying he's on pace for 44 home runs at age 34.
I'll put it this way. His entire career has the San Francisco Giants wanting the designated hitter, not for the pitcher, but for him.
I actually think they want it for Posey because they got to have somewhere to put him when Joey Bart gets called up if he ever starts hitting in AAA. But yeah, fair point. I just wanted to drop that Brandon Crawford bit because look, when I mentioned him the first week, it was kind of tongue in cheek. I didn't really think it would continue. But
what is this? Pick on McGee morning? What the hell is this?
No, we're
like I said, piss McGee off hour.
I'm gonna move on. We like to do one hitter and one pitcher each, so I'm gonna tag myself and then hand it over to Trosh. I'm gonna mention Matt Boyd again. He was a name that came up, I think, in either week 1 or week 2. Where, as the resident Tigers fan, I was asked, "Will it continue?" And I said, "No, it won't," because eventually they're going to start hitting home runs, especially on his cutter, and especially when he starts getting behind in the count. And as previously predicted by me, the home runs are now here. So if he's on your team and you haven't already tried to swing a deal for him, it is time to cut bait. This is exactly who Matt Boyd has been his whole career. His hard hit rate is up almost 20 miles an hour in his last 3 starts. His last 3 starts have been pretty abysmal or to middling. And the Tigers are starting to get into a weird spot in their schedule where they're actually playing some good teams. They have the Yankees this weekend. They still have a lot of games against Cleveland and the White Sox coming up in the next 6 to 8 weeks. If you have not cut bait on Matt Boyd when he was 3-0 and had an ERA under 4, you better do it quick. I'll pass it back to Trosh because, like I said a few weeks ago, trade him while you could, and you might not be able to in another 7 days.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am fully there on board with you. I mean, he's been an enigma for me for years. The strikeouts are always there, but once the home runs start coming, summer starts getting here, it is not a fun time as a fantasy owner. But no, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, try to, inject some youth into this show. One guy if you're looking for some cheap power on the waiver wire, Tyler O'Neill, just back off the IL on Thursday, I believe. Home runs in both games since. He's available in 39% of the leagues on Yahoo. He is a guy I am going to be really targeting if I have any kind of spot at first base. Like, actually, he's in outfield now. So, no, he is currently close to a career high on barrel percentage, 18% on the year. Hard hit rates at best it's ever been, 50%. Exit velocity is the highest it's ever been, 92.5. The walks really aren't there. He's only walking at a 2% rate. But once again, the expected stats say that there is still a lot more to come for O'Neill. His batting average this is the slash line, 257, 578 slugging, and then he's got a 368 WOBA. If we look at the expected stats, 291 batting average, 651 expected slugging, and a 405 expected WOBA. He has he's kind of like the Joey Gallo type, where he has some of the best true raw power in the game, and it looks like he's starting to finally put it all together. I think 30, 40 home runs may be real if he really gets into a groove. I'd look into getting him while you can.
That's an interesting one. Let me, as the resident Marlins fan, someone that I sent to you last night when I was looking around, I don't know why I'm so fascinated by this guy. Probably because he's like 5 years older than I thought he was. Is Garrett Cooper, who's currently pacing for about 28 home runs, 90 runs batted in, and about a 785 OPS, which isn't exactly, he's not going to be in the All-Star game. He's not going to be the All-Star rep for the Marlins. But this is a guy that the Yankees gave up on and sent to Miami in the Giancarlo Stanton trade. He was originally drafted by the Brewers all the way back in 2013 in the 6th round, never panned out there. And some of his advanced statistics are relatively consistent with his career numbers. So there's nothing that really jumps off the page a whole lot, aside from the fact that, not to mess up McGee's point about exit velo not mattering, his exit velo is in the 92nd percentile in all of baseball, and his hard hit rate is in the 88th percentile. He still strikes out a lot more than I would like. The rules of your league are going to somewhat depend on his value, because outfielder is so deep, but first base isn't, and he has first base eligibility in most leagues. What do you see, as someone who probably watches a lot more Marlins than I do, what do you see out of Cooper? Because every time I put them on, he makes something happen. He's got a few walk-offs this year. He seems to be seeing the ball better than he maybe has before in his career, even though his strikeouts are still pretty consistent with his career totals.
No, I mean, he's definitely better than the numbers suggest. I mean, he's just one of those guys you'd watch. He has fun playing. He delivers in clutch moments. He's got power. I think the main issue with him is just going to be the volume. You got Aguilar starting at first. I mean, he's going to be more of a platoon there. Then in the outfield, Marte just got off the IL last night. You got Dickerson. You have Duvall. You still have they're trying to Brinson's on the IL right now, but they're still trying to bring him along. You got Sierra out there. It's a really crowded outfield. So I mean, as much as I love the player, it's more of a volume thing for me. If he can get regular at bats, I'm all in. But I think we need to just see how that lineup's going to shake out first.
Okay, that's a good one.
I did say I was going to try to inject some youth, but kind of going to go back to the old man train here. Rich Hill, 41 years old. I thought he was washed. He was doing terrible in April. He was getting just lit up left and right. And since then in May, 31 strikeouts, 12 walks, 0.98 ERA. That's over 27 innings. And I mean, he capped that off with 13 strikeouts against the Royals on Tuesday. Even better was a 46% CSW, and that's called strikes plus whiffs. So it's basically the percentage of all pitches you've thrown that were either a called strike or swing and a miss. And I mean, 46%, that is almost unheard of. I mean, most of the good starts you're going to see are in the 30 to 35 percentile range. So no, that 46 is, I mean, it's blowing my mind. I mean, I dug a little deeper. The walk rate's there. The strikeout rate is there from previous years, even with the terrible April. ERA, FIP, Sierra all line up. Hasn't lost any velocity on his fastball. I mean, I think Rich Hill's going to be here to stay. I'm not saying he's going to be a top line starter, but he's still available in 39% of Yahoo leagues. I think he's a guy that you need to get if he's out there.
Obviously this isn't something that takes place every day, every week, but it appears there's still a lot of rain going on the East Coast this weekend. Mm-hmm. It's going to screw a lot of fantasy teams. I mean, I've pretty much looked at my teams going, there's no help because you can't drop your entire roster and stream something else because you happen to have a bunch of guys that are playing on the East Coast this weekend. But as far as DFS goes, are you more likely to go ahead and take the surefire, this guy's not going to be in a rain delay, or Or are you more willing to? Because I don't even know if the Braves game is going to get played today, right? They're calling for rain all weekend. I think the Mets are trying to run from them, but anyways, after the Braves injuries, I'm like, you know what? I'll take the weekend off. That's fine. We'll do what the Marlins did and the Cardinals did, and like not play for 19 days, and we'll come back play double headers when our guys are healthy. Is it too late to do that? But anyways, with all that being said, does that affect the way you pick your DFS, or do you just go, look, I can't worry about that. I've got to go with the best player that I think is going to do well today?
Oh no, weather one, I guess, like especially in baseball, 100% plays a factor. Because I mean, like you have to look out for the chance of delays or postponements. So I mean, say you got DeGrom going, but the game is like a chance of being delayed, or say like there's rain expected around the third or fourth inning, and it could get postponed. Like if that happens, DeGrom doesn't go out there, and you've just spent $11,000 of your salary on someone who only pitched 3 innings. And I mean, same thing with the hitters. I mean, like it may not be actively raining during the game, but if it had been raining, the air is going to be more humid. The ball's not going to fly as well. It is definitely something you want to take into account. I mean, looking at it today, the only one with really clear weather is Houston and San Diego, but I'm not really looking to touch any kind of Houston bats or Darvish because of the matchup. And then kind of the same thing. I'm not looking to pitch Odorizzi, but I'm not really in love with San Diego's bats. So it really does create a conundrum and trying to figure
ridiculous.
out which teams.
I was on the Weather Channel more than I was on Yahoo Fantasy yesterday. I don't know. Should I start this guy? Looks like rain. I'm like, it's 2021. Can we build a damn roof over some of these stadiums? I mean, what the hell's going on here? A retractable roof. I mean, not us personally. I'm talking about people that know how to do that stuff. But I mean, can they I mean, it's a ridiculous already that they keep building these baseball stadiums without some kind of a backup plan.
Hey, Marlins and the Rangers both got new stadiums with retractable domes.
Right, they did, but
they did.
What about all these stadiums that don't? And then I'm just like, can't you just put like a really big umbrella up top or something, have it roll off something can be done. If we put a man on the moon, I feel like we ought to be able to play baseball when there's a little bit of drizzle.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
All right. Sorry to interrupt y'all. It's just certain things. I get a baseball diarrhea of the mouth, and I just have to blurt out things sometimes. So
I'm gonna jump in and do my bit with some undervalued guys, some pitchers, since we're talking about pitchers that are not likely to be highly rostered for the listeners. This first one is up pretty high based off of his last start, but I think you can still get him. James Kaprielian of the Oakland A's. He's got a lot of starts projected in his next 4 weeks against either Seattle, the Los Angeles Angels, Anaheim, or Texas. Now, Texas is a little frisky, and they've got some bats in the middle of that lineup, especially Garcia. But Seattle can't hit their way out of a wet paper sack with a chainsaw. And the Angels are just, the Angels look like they've had their soul sucked out. Aside from Ohtani, Rendon looks like Anthony Rendon in 2014 when he first got called up.
He looks like he's 60 out there, man. It's like, what the hell? This guy, you couldn't get this guy out in 2019.
We'll just put that on the long list of people who've had a career year and a contract year and then not done it again. I don't know how many times we have to see to know what's happening. So Kaprielian's up. Kaprielian's up about 39%, but you can get him in most leagues. I don't usually camp for Colorado pitchers, but I'm going to say some nice things about Austin Gomber, who's got 55 strikeouts in 53 innings. Now, again, you got to check his matchups. If that game goes off today, he's at Pittsburgh, who is another team that can't hit a lick. There is rain in the forecast, so I don't know that he's going to get to actually start that game, and you should never really ever start him against a good team at home in Colorado. But he's basically been their second best pitcher this year behind Marquez, and Marquez is all over the place. His performance is like a roller coaster. He's either Cy Young or he's Kyle Wright. So, Gomber is a little bit more reliable. He's only rostered on 20.2% of all lineups. He's someone you can get. he's got a 2-start week coming up, not this coming week, but the week after, as long as the doubleheaders don't, mess that up too much with the rainouts. So he's somebody you can get pretty cheap right now, and he's striking a lot of batters out.
No, I definitely love that. I want a pitcher. I'm really surprised that he's not as owned as he's really not owned at all. Merrill Kelly only owned in 8% of leagues. He has gone 6 innings in all starts this year, but the very first one. He hasn't got any shutouts this year, but he's really sticking in the 1 to 3 earned run range. He's limiting his walks. I mean, but he's also getting strikeouts. 12 strikeouts against the Dodgers last time he was out. I think he got 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, and 2 runs against the Giants last time out. And he's a 2-start this week. Gets to face the Mets at home, who are still depleted by injuries. I wish I actually had the full list of their IL up right now. They could actually probably field a third place AL Central team right now with how many players are injured. But I mean, he goes into he actually has the Mets at home in Arizona, and then he goes to Milwaukee, who are a much better team against left-handed pitching. So, I mean, 8% of leagues, that is someone I'm going to, as soon as the show is over, if Dave doesn't do it first, I'm going to be picking him up where I can.
Good stuff. I like that one.
I think it's time to start previewing next week. What do you say, Sean?
Yeah, let me give a couple of hitters really quick that I like. These guys are going to be moderately rostered and should be pretty easy to get in most leagues. The first one, going back to the Rockies really quick, is CJ Cron, who is getting every day at bats at first base. He's only 59% rostered, so depending on how deep your league is, you may or may not be able to get him. He's hitting 285. He's got a 949 OPS. Those numbers, obviously, like most people that play for Colorado, are a lot higher at home. And they have a home week this coming up week. And for him, it's just about volume. Are there going to be guys on base if Ryan McMahon doesn't drive him in first? He's been a very reliable, steady bat throughout most of his career. I think the knock on him has been health. He missed all of last year I think he tore his ACL like 6 minutes into the season when the Tigers gave him $8 million. Before that, he was out in Arizona, but he was kind of in a timeshare at first base. Played a little bit of outfield in the 2018 season. Getting every day at bats at first base is definitely helping him. The next one's kind of an interesting one. It's Jock Peterson. He's only 47% rostered. His OPS is up 102 points in May. He's been hitting the ball much better from where he started. He had a horrible April. And, it's tough to say that this matters, but I think it does. He had never been a leadoff hitter before, and the Cubs had him in the leadoff spot in that first month of the year. And I just don't think that's his natural state. I think he's a drive-in guy. He likes to hit the ball hard. He has struggled against left-handed pitching, but of his 7 games coming up this week, 6 have right-handed starters projected. So, keep an eye on that. He has destroyed right-handed pitching for most of his career and has really struggled against lefties. He's been a guy who's been benefited a lot by the 3-batter minimum, because you used to be able in late game situations to get him off the field by just bringing in the loogie. And last but not least, Andrew Vaughn and Nick Madrigal of the Chicago White Sox. I'm all over the White Sox this coming week because they have 8 games due to a doubleheader, and 4 of those games are against the Tigers. Vaughn is 37% rostered. Madrigal is 62% rostered. These are 2, this is the most heads and tails players from one team I can think of seeing this year, because Vaughn is all power, has hit for power at every level, and so far has struck out a little bit more than I think, his 97-year-old manager would like. So he's been ducked out of the lineup here and there a little bit, but I still think he's a competent hitter. He's very young. And he's got a lot of different positional eligibility because he's played in left field and he's played at first base. And Madrigal is the exact opposite. If he accidentally backs into a home run, it's like me hitting my 1 home run in restaurant softball is like the greatest fluke of all time. He has just no power whatsoever, but he's all singles. He's going to get on base. He's not going to strike out much. So, if you're in a 5x5 and you're maybe behind a little bit in on base or batting average, Madrigal is a great ad for the long term, not just for this week.
No, I love both those White Sox hitters. As soon as Vaughn cuts the strikeouts a little bit and really starts showing that power, it's going to be really hard to take him out of that lineup. No, actually, sticking with the White Sox, you mentioned the 8 games this week. That means we got a lot of 2 starts. Dylan Cease. They're facing Indians and Cleveland and Tigers. So they're going to be at Cleveland, home against Detroit. But Dylan Cease has just really started to turn a corner this year. The one thing that's still kind of concerning is the walks. He's at a 11.9% walk rate, but everything else, it's looking like he has ace written all over him. 30 strikeout percentage, 1.27 whip, which is, part of the walks there. But he's got a 3.25 FIP. He's got a 2.98 ERA, 3.24 expected ERA. He's only allowing barrels at 7% of the time. Career low hard hit percentage at 33%. And the one thing that's really been sticking out to me is that he's been really getting a lot more, generating a lot more swings outside of the strike zone. I think that is up a good 5% from his previous years. And he is also the called strikes plus whiff rate, the CSW, that is at 30% on the year. And one of the big driving forces behind that is the whiff rate.
Do you remember, by the way, Dylan Cease, do you remember how he became a White Sox?
Which trade was it?
It was the trade that sent him to the Cubs.
Chris Sale?
No, he came from the Cubs in the what the hell is his name? The
Jose Quintana. Is that the Quintana trade?
Quintana.
Oh, wow. How about that?
That was the Quintana trade, which also was Eloy Jimenez. Went to
That's what it was.
It's a little lopsided, if you ask me. But anyways, go ahead. That's my pissing y'all off segment. Okay, go ahead.
That's tough stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like as a Cubs fan, that one's gonna be hard to swallow. But
it's like Giolito to the White Sox. I'll tell you what, the White Sox have made some moves. Giolito to the White Sox for Adam Eaton, who currently is on the Chicago White Sox roster.
Because he re-signed as a free agent
after
he won a World Series with the Nationals.
Oh, you gotta love it.
I remember at the time going, thank God they traded him away, man, because Strasburg, Scherzer, Giolito, they wouldn't even had to wasted that money on Corbin, and they probably could have kept Rendon, which I don't know if that's a good thing at this point. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I look how it's working out for him now. Patrick Corbin, was it Patrick Corbin and John Lester there now?
Yeah,
that is just oof.
So there's nothing better than a bunch of soft tossing lefties. Just
made me some money last week on John Lester
in a division where they're going to face Acuna and Alonso, right? That's what you want. You want a soft tossing lefty facing those right-handed hitters.
No, yeah, but no. Last point on Cease. I mean, like the big difference this year has been the swinging strike rate. That is up to 16%. It was at 9% last year. But the big thing behind that is he's getting 34% swings outside of the zone, but while also only getting 57% contact, which is down from 65% last year outside of the zone. Even inside of the zone, only 73% contact, as opposed to 84 and 83 the 2 years before. I think once Cease gets the control down, gets the walks in line, we may be looking at a future ace. Fantasy, real life, you name it. If you're in a dynasty league, that is a guy I would buy low on right now. Then another guy I'm looking at this week, not a fan that both these starts are on the road, but anytime you get to face the Orioles and the Royals in 1 week, I am all over it. Michael Pineda from Minnesota. He's been a little bit struggled a little bit since he came back from the IL, but
with or without the pine tar, you're still in on it.
I'm in even without the pine tar. He's been a guy for me. Like the talent has always been there. Almost reminds me of a older version of Jose Barrios. It's kind of funny how they both ended up in Minnesota, but no, I love the talent. I love the matchups. Go ahead and pick him up if he's there for this week.
Are we moving on to DFS or do we still have more?
We got the SHAUN with prospects.
Okay.
Yep. I'm going to give you a couple prospects really quick, and then we'll move on to DFS.
Sure.
This first one's not going to be a surprise to anyone who watches baseball. It's Alec Manoa. His rostering went up 45% overnight off the back of that start against the Yankees. Just a couple things I want to mention.
Yeah, he was
about
like
Manoa,
Dogecoin. He was like,
it really was. Couple things I want to say about him. He came into the year as their third-ranked pitching prospect, behind Nate Pearson, and the guy whose first name I can never remember, but his last name's K. He wears glasses. His profile has always been hard and aggressive 4-pitch mix. It's 4-seam fastball, 2-seam fastball, cutter, and then he throws a breaking pitch that's kind of like a slurve, basically, if you will. He has lived in the zone a lot. He is really young. I mean, they've only had him just a little bit over 2 years, so he is really, really young. That start was very impressive. The only thing I want to mention is I looked this up on Baseball Savant and StatCast because I wanted to see. The Yankees are the 4th worst team in baseball on fastballs above 95 miles an hour in the upper third of the zone, which is where he was beating them over and over. He was beating them with the 4-seam and the 2-seam, 95, 96 up in the zone, and they'd never seen him before. So now that they've got some, tape on him, we'll see if he can replicate it when another team sees him. I think his next start scheduled to maybe be against Boston. I'd have to look at the schedule to be sure about that. But, your best case scenario is he's basically Maple Leaf Strasburg. I mean, the stuff is electric. But your worst case scenario is he does live in the zone a lot. He's not wild. He's never had control problems. He's never had arm issues. And he throws very, very hard, but it is in the zone. It's places where you can get to it. So, don't be too crazy to jump all over him just yet. If you grabbed him, great, keep him. But if you didn't grab him and you want to see a second start, I would want to see a second start, maybe his third start, because he could just end up being a hard throwing third starter who has a really high expected field independent pitching, because the ball might get put in play a lot when people start to time it up. But people are striking out more than ever before, so he could be really awesome. The other one I wanted to mention really quick is Owen Miller. We were talking about trades. It's funny. This is the last name on the trade press release for the Mike Clevenger, Greg Allen trade to San Diego, where 6 players came back to the Indians. So Owen Miller is a middle infielder / outfielder. He's currently up with Cleveland because they've had some injuries. He hit 406, 457, 609 in Columbus. He's torn the cover off the ball at the minor levels. Only 4 for his first 21. He's got 9 strikeouts in his first 35 plate appearances, which is not that surprising for young players because they come up and, they've just never seen that velocity up in the zone for the most part. But his bat is real, and he's a very, very good middle infielder. So I think Cleveland's going to leave him up and keep giving him at-bats unless he's totally overmatched. So if you're in a league where you've had a hard time finding young prospects, or you're in a dynasty and, everybody else has been gobbled up, keep an eye on Owen Miller. Because in that division against, Minnesota's suspect pitching outside of Barrios and the Tigers suspect pitching and Kansas City's suspect middle relief, he's going to get at bats. Everybody starts to barrel the ball. It's going to go all over the place. So Owen Miller, Alec Manoa, names to keep an eye on.
One thing to keep in mind with Alec Manoa that you mentioned about if you're in like a league with prospects are scarce, or just streaming pitching is scarce. Manoa is one of the last real big prospects that are going to come, are expected to come up this year, pitching wise. Right. So he may be your last shot. Even if he doesn't pan out, it's almost a shot you have to take.
You mean Kyle Wright doesn't count? Wait a minute, never mind.
No, I don't even care if he turns out well. The ship has sailed on Kyle Wright.
I've been saying this for a while. Kyle Wright needs to be moved, or needs to be put in the bullpen. I mean, he's not an Atlanta Braves starter, not with what they've got coming up. And I'm talking about guys that are that could be used this year and next year. Real quick, I want to get y'all's take on something. A trade went down in our dynasty league yesterday. I guess it was yesterday. Maybe it was the day. Yeah, yesterday. And just want to get your take on it. Sean, take your Braves hat off for a second and just think about the actual trade itself. Okay. I sent Austin Riley and Martin Perez to No Posey, No Picture. He sent me Randy Arozarena and Max Fried. Realize
better trade for you.
We've been going back and forth for weeks. I think I finally wore him down. I think I got the better half, but the the only caveat to that is that what if Martin Perez keeps up with his pretty darn good year so far? I just don't believe in Martin Perez, and that's why I was willing to. He's also obsessed with Austin Riley, so I knew I had him, right?
Right.
When he comes back from the IL, there essentially wouldn't have been much room for him on my staff, or in my lineup, because I've got Mike Trout sitting in the IL right now.
I think you got the better half of the deal. As taking my Braves fan hat off, all four of those players have a high variance probability, right? Arozarena is not going to get 29 hits in the postseason like he did last year. I just don't see him doing that again. I think he's a very good player who's not as exceptional as what we saw in the playoffs. Fried is good. I think he can be the ace of a staff, but he hasn't been that for every start this year yet. The thing on Riley is, there's just so much conjecture, especially in analytics communities, over whether he's going to keep this up. He's driving the ball to the opposite field more than he ever has before. People that really study hitters think that's an indication that he's going to keep hitting like this. But you and I've watched him for, over a year and a half now. He's gone on tears like this before. Now, if this keeps going for another 6 weeks, that trade doesn't look as good for you. But
right, but same token,
that's the risk you take. That's the risk you take with any trade.
I kind of look at him and Arozarena as almost an even Steven type of trade to me, because Arozarena gets hot as well, right?
He does.
And this is a 15 team keeper league. I have to look at my long-term. So I've got 2 outfielders sitting on my IL in this league, Sean, Ozuna and Trout. Okay.
Right.
My third baseman is Jose Ramirez.
So
I'm not dropping
easy.
I'm not dropping Jose Ramirez. But
that's a roster dynamics. That's a roster dynamics thing. So that's a good deal for you in that scenario.
And then also, go ahead.
I would say like even roster dynamics out of it. I mean, yeah, like Riley and Arozarena are kind of they're even, and they're both going to be like streaky players who are going to have massive runs, but also really cold runs. But the way I see it, it's keeper league. Max Fried is a young pitcher, still has a lot of upside. Martin Perez is his ceiling. He's a low strikeout guy, low strikeout ground ball pitcher. This is not going to continue forever. You got value for him while you could. You win that trade.
That's the way I looked at it. I hate losing a Brave, especially when he's playing well, but I also had to look at the long term. So we keep 15 players, and someone else that's came into the mix back into my lineup that just came off the IL was Mondesi, shortstop from Kansas City. So I kind of had to weigh that out. And anyways, of course, with that being said, Jose Ramirez is going to break his freaking leg today, and then it's all going to be like, what the hell do I do at third base? I'm going to be running out there picking up Longoria. All right, we got to hurry this up. Let's get into DFS.
DFS, this is one of these days. First of all, we're going to be covering the 205 slate on DraftKings. That is the early slate, 10 games. This is one of these slates where the top end of pitching is just ugly. I mean, Darvish is the best pitcher by far on the slate, but he is going into Houston. That is not something I want to spend almost $11,000 on. And then down from there, Freddie Peralta. Yeah, he gets a lot of strikeouts, but he's facing the Nationals, who are not a high strikeout team. Next 2 after that, Nathan Eovaldi at 9,000, Trevor Rogers 8,800. We're going to have terrible weather there. I mean, there's post-moment risk. Even so, Nate Eovaldi is not a pitcher who scores scores that high. Yeah, there's a revenge narrative, but he's not he's not a $9,000 pitcher. And then Trevor Rogers, he is a $9,000 pitcher, but that is not a matchup I want to attack with.
Yeah, man, I love Rogers, right? But it's making me nervous starting him today against the Red Sox in Fenway with that freaking green monster, a lefty in there. It's like, ooh.
Like the way I think about it, you have 20 pitching options. I am not going to voluntarily put Trevor Rogers in bad weather against JD Martinez.
It's like, what am I doing? You got a gun to my head? Why the hell am I putting this guy in here, right? Exactly. And I mean, at the same token, Eovaldi 9,000 to me is too high.
For sure. I mean, he's probably like a $7,500, $8,000 pitcher
if he's on his game. What I can't figure out is that Eovaldi is. Oh, never mind. I was looking at Eduardo Rodriguez. I was like, what? Never mind. Anyways.
But no, like for the pitchers, I do like if you're going to pick any of the high end pitchers, I'm gonna go for Freddie Peralta there. He's had 7 strikeouts in every start since the opener. Like once again, it's still a little much, but that would be my choice of the high end. I'm actually the highest pitcher I'm really willing to spend on today is Frankie Montes. He's facing the Angels at home. They lost Jose Iglesias yesterday to an injury. They're already down Trout. Ohtani pitched last night, so it's pretty unlikely we'll see him in the lineup tonight. Montes really struggles with walks, but the strikeouts are there. I mean, like if there's any pitcher, he's who I'm starting my lineup, almost every lineup with. And then I'm really actually liking a lot of the lower range today. We got, don't run like duck and cover when I say this, but Luis Castillo, 6,900. Chicago, the wind is blowing in massively. It's about 12 to 15 miles an hour. We have seen what happens in Chicago when the wind is blowing in, nothing goes out of that park. I'm still not a fan of Castillo that much, but that matchup and the stadium is something I'm willing to consider. And then Mitch Keller at 5,800. He has also been kind of up and down this year, but he's shown he has strikeout potential. Gets the Rockies at home today. They are not a good lineup outside of Coors. Really not a good lineup at all. And especially against right-handed pitching. Mitch Keller, 5,800, really allows you to go wherever you want with the hitting today. I mean, I got actually Austin Gomber on the other side of that matchup. Pittsburgh really don't strike out that much against lefties. They're third in the past month. They are third. They strike out the third least times in the league against left-handed pitching, but once again, they don't really do much else. So Gomber is a good matchup today. Hitting, it's really, the weather is just affecting everything. The only real clear game we're going to see is Oakland Angels, and then the San Diego and Houston one that I talked about earlier. I'm not really loving anything today. If you're going to go weather, I would stack the San Diego bats against Odorizzi. But other than that, I do like Oakland against Cobb. I do like Toronto if they play against Henches. They got a very good lineup against left-handed pitching. Yankees have a good matchup against Turnbull. I think his ownership is going to be a little bit high. People still writing off the no-hitter, but yeah, it's going to be a really, really funky slate today.
Okay, Sean, you got any last things to add on that before we play Pepper and get out of here?
Yeah, stack up your A's and stack up your White Sox if you can. The White Sox game looks like it's going to go off, so I've got Yerman and Andrew Vaughn in my lineup, and I've got Matt Olson in against the Angels because Alex Cobb throws batting practice.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into Little Pepper. Injuries mounting, season long. How do you deal with that, Sean? Go.
Pick up what's available, and if he's there, usually pick up the backup or who's starting over your player. For example, if you've got Trout, keep an eye on Brandon Marsh. We didn't get to him in the prospects bit, but he could be somebody, if he keeps mashing at Salt Lake, they're going to call him up sooner rather than later.
Real quick, Steven, same question.
No, just yeah, I mean, definitely look at the backups, but just try to like we've been doing with the early segment, just try to find the guys that are starting to break out but haven't gotten the attention yet. Get them on your roster while they're still cheap.
All right, we're going into Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people going to be at the ballpark. Chicago Brat or Dodger Dog, Sean?
Chicago Brat.
Steven?
Yep, Chicago Brat.
I'm a Dodger Dog guy. I like the Brat, but at a ball game, you got to give me a Dodger Dog. Ice cream or cotton candy, Sean?
Ice cream. Cotton candy's trash. Throw it in the garbage.
Blasphemy. Steven?
I'm just gonna copy and paste what Sean said.
Okay.
Ice cream. Throw the cotton candy in the trash.
So you know, Sean is safe, but tomorrow my wife might cut your balls off over that. That's like her favorite thing on the planet is cotton candy. What about Dippin' Dots? Are y'all pro Dippin' Dots or anti Dippin' Dots as opposed to ice cream at a ball game?
Pro Dippin' Dots. I love it. I hope they have a stand at Truist when I'm there at the end of July, because that's my favorite thing is Dippin' Dots that are basically ice cream water halfway through the bowl. Good stuff.
Steven?
I honestly forgot Dippin' Dots existed until you just mentioned them.
You don't see them
that's
in the
blasphemy.
ballpark anymore. It's crazy. I think they're pretty damn good. I don't know what.
No, I like them, but
They were
there's
everywhere in
like
the
just
90s.
real ice cream.
The Sounds New Park, First Tennessee Park in Nashville, always has them. Love them.
And everywhere you went in the 90s, there was a Dippin' Dot store. Like that pretty much was the 90s.
Yeah, that was
every corner.
That was 25 years ago.
It was like Dippin' Dots, frozen yogurt, and cocaine. It was everywhere. Okay. By Memorial Day weekend, teams always say they know if they're in or they're out of the playoffs. And run. Same question to y'all with your fantasy baseball teams. What point of the season in a dynasty, not in a year, not in a startup, in a dynasty league, do you start going, I don't think this is the year I'm going to win it, and I got to start looking at building for next year? In other words, grabbing guys that I think are going to be more impactful this year. In other words, going for a prospect as opposed to grabbing like a Longoria who's playing well right now.
Yeah, my cutoff point's about the second week of June. It's, that's hilariously, I always make fun of my brother that he was born on a holiday because June 14th is Flag Day, which I've never seen celebrated anywhere, but it's on my calendar every year. Flag Day, that second week in June is about the point where I'm like, if I haven't made some movement, it's time to start selling parts.
That was one of the holidays that was generated by a flag company. I mean, that's just, I thought 4th of July was Flag Day, right? Like, do we have to have a separate one? Steven, what say you?
See, like I'm aggressive. As long as I have a chance to make the playoffs, I am still going for it. I have had many years where I have snuck into the playoffs as the last seed and I ended up taking it all. Baseball is the highest variance sport. If you have a chance to make the playoffs, anything can happen.
I agree to a degree, but when we have like year-long fantasy leagues, especially like the rotisserie league that we're in, that one especially, there's going to come a point where if you're sitting down like 7th or 8th in that league, you're not climbing back into it. You got to start looking towards the future, right?
Roto league's a little bit different. If it's Roto, yeah, I'd agree with Sean around Flag Day. Like you kind of know if you have a chance to
Roto. If it's a Roto, like around April Fool's Day, you're starting to realize
you can be in trouble way before Memorial Day in a Roto.
You're like, dude, by tax day, April 15th, I'm going, oh crap, this didn't work.
Down 60 points. This season's over. I guess I'm gonna start watching women's softball in the ACC.
Doubling down on Rainy Dobnak didn't work out. I got to do something.
My big Roto league, I knew I was out early May. It's been a rough year, but points leagues, as long as if you can make the playoffs, anything can happen. That's what I believe.
3 weeks into the season, you're like the guy in the boardroom in Major League. This guy here is dead. Cross him off then.
All right, guys, walk off. Sean.
Yeah, my walk-off is don't underrate Spencer Turnbull today. It's very cold in Detroit. They had a big win last night. I saw lots of people in heavy jackets. Casey Mize versus Garrett Cole. That was like watching a symphony for me. But Turnbull's amazingly underrated and does miss a lot of bats. He's usually a pretty 6 to 8 strikeout guy. So keep an eye on that today because it's cold in Detroit. The high's only 57. Wind in the Midwest. That game could be 2-1 easy.
Steven?
I'm going to keep it simple today. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. Thank you to the troops for everything. Enjoy the weekend.
I will echo that sentiment. And as far as baseball goes, my walk-off is, for the love of God, can we get some clear weather? I mean, if it wants to rain in the Northeast tomorrow, I'll be okay. I'll be in the pool. But today, can I get a Braves-Mets game? I've been looking forward to this series, and it's going to be a bummer if this whole thing gets washed out. Everything will get washed out, but we'll have to face DeGrom tomorrow. That's how I'm looking at what's going to happen here. All right, guys, great job. We'll see y'all next Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, here on the Payoff Pitch.
If you can make